Hello, welcome to another installment well, of me in Japan. I hope you're doing really well. I hope you're feeling productive. I hope this little change in setup is permitting you to do work that you would maybe find difficult to complete if you didn't have a few extra hours a week. Of course, I will be back very soon, and I just wanted to catch you up on some of the things that I did here. One of the places that I wanted to talk to you about was this town called Kanazawa. And, every time I've left a place, I don't really feel like leaving it. I feel nostalgic for it almost immediately. So when I got to Kanazawa, it was sort of rainy. I'd started to get that cold that that I had had. These are allergies now that you're going to hear, so you're just going to get all the sound effects from Dr. Bloom. Um, So here, what we have here is a little piece of why Kanazawa turned out to be really beautiful. And it's called Little Tokyo. So Tokyo is a big city. I really did love my time in Tokyo. Um, not as quite as much as maybe the word Tokyo. Does that make sense to you? But of course, it was wonderful. So going away from Tokyo and going up on this bullet train, 2.5 hours, took a while to get up there. I wasn't sure about, but once we started exploring it and kind of giving in to the weather, it was kind of raw and rainy, a bit chilly. There were treasures to be found. Of course, here on the right hand side is a traditional tea house. We were the only, I think it's a bar at night, tea house during the day. We were the only people in here, and we got to sit on these tatami, traditional Japanese mats. And we sat on the floor, but our table had like a pit underneath it, so you can kind of sit and put your legs down, which is probably a good idea for us guysies. I loved every minute in there. We had a great time just having a piece of cake and some tea. As we go a little bit more into Kanazawa, there's a really famed garden here. It was a big samurai, one of the major samurai cities in Japan, and there was an emphasis by this particular family to create a strolling garden, which put together kind of the best of all the Japanese gardens. Those ropes on the trees are there because there's heavy snowfall in this area, and I think there was even some snow piled up here and there, believe it or not. So they created this kind of rope structure to hold the branches so when heavy snow fell, the trees would be able to tolerate the weight. It's very aesthetic, isn't it? It's a very beautiful garden. I really loved being in here. We walked around. It takes about maybe about an hour and a half to get through. YouTube either makes things seem extra, extra bigger than you think or extra smaller. And I think this garden felt smaller than on YouTube. I can't even really explain that. It's not a problem, just is. That's quite beautiful. Oops. I don't. How is this possible? PowerPoint problems. So when we were in Canada, now I think it was January 1st in 2024, there was a major earthquake up in this area. And we were down here in Kanazawa, excuse me, and it really devastated this part of this peninsula. So there was in my head. My mother even said before we went, like, there's earthquakes around that area, and I was like, well, they're pretty infrequent. There was postings at this hotel we stayed at. It was a very simple sort of hostel hotel about what to do in the event of an earthquake. And I was a little nervous, to be honest. And I thought, Carla, you're not that lucky, which is what I always say when something's dangerous but really improbable. But I was in the hotel room. It's a very small hotel room, so you're always on the bed. And I was lying down and I was looking at my phone. And I started feeling shaking of the bed. There's, I guess, two different types of earthquake feelings. One is an up and down jolting, and one is like a slipping and sliding. sort of backwards and forwards. And I just said to my husband, "Is this an earthquake? Like, is this actually happening?" And they're scary. I felt one before when I lived in Tacoma. I was pregnant. I was lying in bed in Tacoma 25 years ago. The Tacoma earthquake was stronger. Oddly, my husband said, "I don't feel anything." And then he got all these messages on his phone about an earthquake warning. So he looked out the window and people were standing in the street. The shaking had stopped. There was no announcement at the hotel. No one knocked doors, told us to get out. And after a while, the people on the street just kept walking. So that was the earthquake, I guess. I didn't like it. I don't like the feeling of earthquakes. You just feel like it feels like impending doom, if that makes sense, because you don't know when they're going to stop and you don't know how harsh they're going to be. The one in Tacoma went on longer and was stronger, and I heard the walls starting at some point to start to make noise like, oh, it's not so great. Anyhow, I did feel an earthquake there. What can I say? So here I am on a bullet train. These bullet trains are the best invention in the world. If we had them, you would be connected all around the country. You'd go up the coast, you'd go out west, you'd go, I mean, it's just flying. You just feel like you're flying when you're sitting in it. Look how clean it is. Look at the floor. There's lights there just gleaming this floor. Um, it's really pleasant. It was not brutally expensive either. I think we were paying maybe $65 to get all the way down from Hiroshima. This is when we were down in Hiroshima after Kanazawa, and then up through Himeji. But we saw Mount Fuji there. Isn't that beautiful? There's a little tint of color I put in there to pull out some of the contrast with the snowy mountain. But maybe you can help me understand when I get back and we talk in a little bit here together again why I don't need to use filters. I don't need to adjust with the light. I don't understand. Isn't this latitude like New York City or something? I don't understand. Maybe there's something you can help me understand. We did go into Himeji Castle. This is a 700-year-old castle. It was not bombed. Himeji itself was greatly bombed out during the war. But this castle, that we're not sure why it wasn't bombed. They say maybe it was because it was camouflaged to some degree. Maybe the governments who were bombing, U.S. was kind of taking care of business there at that time. Maybe they just decided not to bomb it. Who knows? But we did climb up to the top. I'm not a climb up to the top kind of person, but I did, and I had to take off my shoes, and I had to walk on stairs that were like ladders to the top of this castle out on these windows. And it's just wood. It's just old trees. It's absolutely beautiful. You could see where sort of the protection layers were to take care of people trying to scale walls. But these samurais, they lived right around in here, just these sort of nice sized spaces. Um, it was a lovely day. Once again, yes, it's crowded there that day. And no, people will not stand in your picture. They will stand back here and let everybody have a picture of the castle, which is emotional about Japan. So, last little piece here is we went to Hiroshima, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to go. Why does one go? Is it important to go? Obviously, the city was completely and utterly destroyed by a nuclear bomb. And you can see pictures of it just seared down to melted, burned. Um, but the city has reemerged, and it's interesting to be in an 80-year-old and younger city. It's a beautiful city. This river is beautiful. It's tidal and interesting. There was oyster restaurants. There was coffee. There was a little temple down here. Um, it's on the ocean, so you can go down by the port and see the ferries going out to the islands around Hiroshima. But of course, it's emotional when you see this dome. And I think you do need to go. I don't think it's optional. I think to get the impact of what it would have been like, I mean, the dome here, you can see the structure, the nuclear bomb fell above the dome, and somehow the way it exploded, it spared this building. I don't really understand the physics of it, but it wasn't just a piece of rubble or melted. This metal, I imagine at the top would have been melted anyplace else. But it is emotional. We were there in the evening. We walked around the building, this dome, and you really get a sense of. I mean, no one knew what that was going to happen to them. They were just going to work. It was like 8:45 in the morning, and then the nuclear bomb went off. And I don't know who the people in this town are. Are they descendants? I mean, you really get a sense of place, of walking towards this dome. As it's something standing after trying to figure out what had happened. It must have been absolutely just, I don't know. I mean, sad is what it was, to be honest. I mean, it was sad. This temple bell is not from the war, but this housing structure of the bell stood after the nuclear bomb. Now you could see that the wind blast is 1.75 kilometers away from the detonation point, which was here. And you can see some broken beams here. Just the thought of like a huge beam like that being wind blasted and cracking like that, that was pretty insightful in terms of how um, the Earth experienced, that nuclear bomb going off. But we don't want to end on just that. Here's today's view. I don't know, my PowerPoint designer decided to put a pink hue on this, but that is not a bad idea. So we have to stay rosy even in times or after sad things have happened. And it is a full-on cherry blossom time here in Tokyo. People love these cherry blossom trees. They sit near them, they sit under them. It's like visiting a friend who has woken up after a long time. And it's just has also made my allergies be ridiculous. But you go, cherry trees. You're the best. All right, take good care. I think there'll be another video or leaving here pretty shortly in a few days. And then I have a few days to kind of recover and then make my way back to you. And I'm excited to come back into the classroom and to resume our face-to-face part of the course. Take good care. Thank you so much for watching this video. Hopefully you had a chance to do that.